Alright, so I rigged this up. This is going to be my roof design. And as you can see, it's the simple, just steel. And what I've done is I measured so that way I can use a 12-foot piece of steel, cut it in half, and I have two 6-footers with overhang. Now I accounted for my purlins and everything so that the metal will run right over top of my ply or my OSB like so. That way I don't need trim and anything like that. So I kind of made it easier for myself. And then I got uh, a pretty good pitch and a pretty decent loft size. Um, Anything higher than that would look weird. And I got around 3 foot of storage space in my loft back there when I build it. So I'm pretty happy with that. What do you guys think?
All right, Dawson's got a lot of progress out here. He's got his 3 walls framed. He's got his floor sheathing down. We knew rain was coming. It's hard to tarp an area like that, so he rolled on some wood stain I got at Home Depot. They had it in the clearance rack, 5 gallons for, what was it, Dawson, 9 something? A little less than $10. And I thought, wow, that's cool. So he dumped it on, he rolled it around so that the it doesn't get too awful wet. He's under the trees here. It's not too terrible, but I'm getting nervous about getting the floor wet. So sidewalls don't matter. He's mocked up his trusses, what he thinks he wants. So he made that, and then he did a pattern truss. He's going to cut up these cherry. It's a shame he's cutting the length, though. 2x6s. We got some sprinkling going on here. But we got to get this up today. I'm going to give him a hand. He said he's hungry, so I'm going to go fix him some grub while he's cutting some rafters. Where's your pattern rafter? Do you see that? Somewhere here he's got a pattern rafter. So as long as he already knows. Why don't you explain what we do with a pattern rafter? This is what you want, right?
That's what I rigged up. And now what I'm going to make is some homemade gussets with the rest of my 3/4 plywood.
That's a good idea.
And I'll make it.
Probably.
Anyways,
what are you gonna do? Like a triangle, probably?
Yeah, I'll make one of these sides and cut it, and then I'll mark P for pattern.
Oh, we got that, Dawson. We do have the pattern already. It's over here, remember? I think he covered it up with a tarp. But what I want him to explain is when you make a...
Cut the lines so they don't continuously grow.
Correct. When you make your pattern board, use the same pattern rafter on every board and cut the line and use that same board, because if you save the line each time, each rafter is going to grow in length. And somewhere here's a P, Dawson, for pattern. And you do have it? Yeah, so it's not a good day, but I think what I recommend him to do is I went ahead and cut 2x6s, 1x6s, and 1x4s. And the rougher looking 1x4s, some of these I want him to use for roof purlins. These are all hardwood, and they're a solid 1 inch. They're going to make a nice rafter purlin. Are you going to go 2 foot on center?
Yeah.
And so the rafters are about, what, 6 feet long? Yeah. So he's going to go every 2 feet. They're going to be pretty rugged. And then what I recommended he does is take some synthetic roofing paper that's 4 feet wide, and he can staple that right onto the rafter, or I'm sorry, right onto the purlin, and he'll have instant rain shed until he gets his steel on. So he's getting his saw set up, and should be a quick thing. I'll probably go in and make him some soup and sandwich or something, and we'll get started.
This is a 8/12 pitch.
So you did an 8/12, so go ahead and mark it somewhere, either on your saw or on the board. Not on that end. There you go. Mark it up here where it disappears under your gusset. What's this end then?
12.
It would be the opposite from 90, right?
Yeah. It's 56 degrees.
And he's got his pattern labeled. So what are you going to do on this one? You're going to...
This one, I'm going to just
cut it.
And
cut the line, right? And then each one that grows, he's going to get rid of the line. So I'm going to go and he's going to cut these bad boys up. While he's over there cutting those, coming over here, and I think this is probably a pretty good size right now. And if he didn't want to waste materials, you see that's 12 inches. So if he did a 12-inch gusset with the 812 pitch, he should be able to do one, flip it over, do another, and get a bunch out of a foot wide plywood. So he's carried over some, he's cut. How many you got there?
5.
How many you got here?
2.
Plus your pattern is
8, so I need 8 more.
And what he's going to do, he's going to set one. So instead of using a double top plate, it's not necessary. If you were going to stud out a building and your rafter would end up on your eave in the center of 2 studs, that's going to put excess weight on a flat plate. But if you set your rafters right over the stud, there's no way your plate can bend. So that's what he's going to do to cut down on material, cuts down on his budget. You can see the example of the 1x6 on his ceiling. I don't think he should put them on yet, because I think what he should do is attach his rafters with a gusset and decide what height he wants to have his ceiling, because he can move that rafter up higher, the gusset, to give him a taller ceiling in here. So we'll see what he wants to do. So what he decided to do is just use a purlin piece there, like some of these scraps, 20 inches at the bottom, because he wants a maximum height, and then a pair of the 55 degrees so that he won't have any waste, and he's going to have little gusset plates at the top, and then he'll figure out the ceiling after they're in. So he measured 20 inches,
55 degree.
and he's making a little gusset out of some scrap.
55 degree.
This is less than 3.5. I had left over, so he can use it for that. Now go ahead and measure again. Or are you going to cut one, set one? Cut one, set one. And then make sure you're cutting the lines, right? Mm-hmm. Gonna put, how many nails you gonna throw in it?
Quite a few.
Making gusset brackets. Using a what, a 6-penny?
Yep.
2-inch nail. Probably when he gets both sides on, what are you gonna do?
Stand, put it up.
No, I'd put a couple of these bad boys in it.
Yeah.
One on either side,
Yeah,
so 4 of them. And then there's no way they can ever pull apart, you know. So he's going to do all 8 trusses like this. Not really, not all 8. What are you going to do?
I'm going to do, I have
You're
14,
too close to the board
I
there.
have 14 gussets, so what I'm going to do is, on the end walls,
Yeah,
I'm getting my plywood to go up on the end.
Right, so we don't want them on the outside to be in the way. So he's going to work on this. I think I got him started on that, and then it would be best if the whole truss was made. You know how to do the truss, right, Dawson? You'd screw down a jig so that everyone lines up the same. That way the bottom would be spaced the same on all of them. Because it's easy to move them the width of a blade, saw blade or something. Go in tough in hardwood, don't they?
Yeah. And we're going to be hanging this one next.
He's handing me the truss up here, and he's going to try to get up there. Ah, don't let it tip. Oh, it's hard to hold, man. Put a hand high and low. He's going to line his edge up flush on the top of his rafter at the outside wall so that he can sheathe right up on the side. And I'm going to keep it upright. Go up higher so you can hold it, Dawson. Go up your ladder higher. I got to try to hold this here with one hand and get this out where it belongs. Hold it. Phew, these are heavy. And then when you like it, put her home. Just don't split it by sinking them. And then I'm gonna get down, or he'll hand me the drill and I'll do this side. Now he's taking our example board apart, and that's a 1x6. I ripped everything 1x6 for the. It's a collar tie and or sealing joist. So he's going to hand that up. That happens to be oak, right? Or is that the ash one? They look so much alike. I think that's oak. Smell it. Pretty much smell oak, red oak or white oak.
Good, yeah.
And we're going to set that up on here. Now, to get him the maximum loft height and strength, I did the rough cut 1x6. So line that up at the outside wall, pull it against your rafter, draw a pencil line on your rafter, and then come over here with a pencil, mark this one, and that'll be his template to cut all the ceiling. And I bet if we get a screw in either end of this, he can jump up there and do pull-ups on this board, and it won't be bending, will it?
Probably not.
That's how strong they are. So draw a line on this one, and then he'll cut this and we'll be all set. Go up your ladder though. Don't get a face full there. And then he's going to screw that on, but don't sink your screws. Or what do you do? Because what's the thickness you got there?
1.5 and an inch, 2.5.
Well, measure that. Maybe it is 2.5. Here's the tape measure. I was going to say, you can put your screw in on an angle, right?
It's 2 3/4.
Awesome. So go ahead and put on this side, bring your ladder in here, and then you probably could do, I don't know, I would do about 4 screws on either side. That's going to beef his wall up instantly. And then, what'd you say you want to do with the loft in here? Half of it?
I'm doing a half loft.
So I think he's coming down about halfway, and he's going to do a collar tie sealing on all of them, and then leave the center out. And so this one has to be there because he's going to build a wall under it anyway. So it's going to have a studded wall under it for his door. And then you can screw that collar tie right down to your plate, and that's going to beef it up too, you know. And he mentioned he wants either vents or windows in here, so if he puts little windows in, he could plan for it and either frame it that way, or I don't know what he wants to do, but over on his tiny house there, see if you can see, he's got hopper windows, vinyl insulated hopper windows, and they tilt in at the top. And we've had some monsoon rains this summer, and there's no water in your building, is there? No. It does not come in. So I think if he did 2 of them, he'd get a lot of light in here, and then he'd also have ventilation in the summer months if he wants it. That's my opinion, but he'll do what he wants. He did say he might want to put a window like over here, up high, and because it's 2-foot framing, he should be able to just put a, you know, small window right in there. We probably have one, but
do one in the loft.
Yeah, and then do a 45 one right down into the plate there.
Screws.
You need more, all right. So that's what she looks like so far. And we are doing things a little out of order. We didn't finish the framing in the front yet. And it's mainly because of the type of flooring he's got. This is not Advantech. It is 3/4 tongue and groove, but it's OSB. And it is not designed to get wet a lot. And for some reason, this month of August is wet, isn't it, Dawson?
Yep.
Really wet. Like every day it seems to drizzle like Florida. So I really want him to get a roof on this. He has not bought the materials yet. The design of this with this type of pitch and changing, I tried to talk him into using the least amount of material, which is going to give him the least amount of cost in there. And so if he went like 6 inches more, then what would happen is he'd have to buy 8-foot sheets and cut them. And by using this pitch and this width, he ended up using 6-foot sheets. And once he does the ridge cap, it's going to be covered fine. So now we can buy 12-footers and cut them in half. We'll use one side and the other side. The cuts will be under the ridge cap. We'll have nice factory edges on the side. He'll be buying 5 sheets of 12-foot steel. That's going to be within his budget, I think. Anything to save some money. Right now what he's doing is he's got his trusses standing up and he's marking where his purlins are going to go. He's going to go with 4 purlins. And they are going to be the rough cut 1x4s in hardwood. So they're going to be pretty rugged. And he's going to have the trusses 2 feet on center. The collar ties, he said he wants only in the back half, because he wants to make a loft back there for storage for like maybe a sawhorses and, you know, big items like that that you use once in a while. And then that'll empty out his tiny house to have more of a couch situation in the bottom. And in the front, I think what he can do is move the collar ties up near the top farther and still, you know, to keep the building from spreading. And so once he gets all of his trusses built, he's got to build, what, 2 more? Yep. That I'll give him a hand and we'll get them up. And then he can get the purlins on tonight and we'll get the synthetic roofing paper out. It'll be just 2 rows of paper. And it'll be waterproof tonight, and the synthetic won't rip if the wind blows. You know, it's pretty rugged stuff like a tarp, so he'll be in good shape. And now just tighten your two. I said two, but we didn't put our collar tie in yet. So tighten that one screw up there, and that's going to keep your truss from tilting. And then he can finish his other trusses. We didn't line it up. He marked it over there with his, I don't know how he did that. It's in the wrong spot anyway. But just get it to hold your truss from tilting. And then when he goes to set his next one on, he'll have something to guide it. I don't know what went wrong there, actually. Do not know. Now, that's pretty rugged, right?
Yep.
Now you should be able to do the rest of your trusses and not have them tip over on you. So he's going to do this side, finish this up, and then stack the trusses. Now he's going to come down and start his screws in the bottom of the trusses, and he'll do the collar ties at the end, I guess. Unless you want to do that now. You want to throw that back one on?
Sure.
It don't matter. As long as your trusses line up. I'd let him do that himself because I don't need to be out here for that kind of stuff. But the trusses are kind of heavy. So Carrie, start your screws in them and I'll help you set them. And then I'm going to go fix some dinner. I think he's about where this loft is going to be, right? You about halfway? And then he'll do collar ties wherever he wants them. And then we're just going to set them up. He's going to come back, put brackets, more screws, and then purlins on there. What he's doing is having his last purlin flush with the edge. And his steel's going to overhang. I forgot if it's 2 or 4 inches, but he's going to have overhang with the steel. And then his trim board's going to go across there, so he'll have plenty of overhang. I think what I'll recommend him to do is get some hurricane truss ties there and put them from the wall up and tie right on every single rafter. And then otherwise, if he puts the collar ties on all of them, he doesn't have to worry about it too much. But I don't want them pulling away or splitting or anything. And I told him to go ahead and get a piece of scrap board and measure all the trusses, make sure they're the same distance, and screw them underneath prior to going out there doing the purlin. So in case he slips and leans on them, I don't want him tipping a truss over because they're heavy. And they're going to be pretty rugged. It looks pretty good, don't it, Dee? Yep. I think... the peaks line up. Yeah, looks good. Look at it out here. Starting to look like a barn. So he's going to do 4 rows of purlins up there, and the top one's the crucial one. Why?
Because
it has to line up with your
ridge cap goes.
Yep. So we got a ridge cap over there somewhere. He can measure off. I think they're 14, so it'll be about 7. So your screw's going to have to be about centered at 6 from the peak, I think. And that's it. He's got a lot of screws and nails to do, but I want him to keep them trusses from tipping over. And ideally, it'd be nice to get the paper on this tonight. As you can hear, the rain every day now. I don't know what's going on. Good for the ground, I guess. So he's got all his trusses up. The brackets aren't on and things, you know, but he's got several screws in either end. He's got you can see the support board there. underneath the trusses so that he can go ahead and put the paper on. I recommend to get the paper on because I don't want that floor to get any more wet. So this is letting up a little bit. It's just a sprinkle now, but I want him to get that paper on, and he can run the paper up the rafter, down the other side in one sheet, being about 12 feet long, or he can go horizontal and do 2 rows of them on either side, and it'll be about 3 rows that way. And if he goes up, it'll be 4 rows. So he'll make that decision. I think it'll be a very good thing to do. And then once he puts his purlins on, it'll sandwich that in. And if he ever wants that paper out of there, he can just reach up in the rafters and cut it, you know. Not a big deal. But having that vapor barrier, that moisture barrier up there is a big deal to me. Almost dark, and he's almost finished over there. Looking pretty good. That's going to keep most of the rain out. And then he's going to be able to put his purlins on top, and he'll have a moisture barrier.